Okay, so I'm going to be doing another installment of my videos on Deleuze and Guattari's Thousand Plateaus. I'm going to be doing the third plateau, the third chapter. This is the Geology of Morals. Who does the Earth think it is? And I think that the following one is postulates of linguistics, and I do plan on doing that one, but I think I might want to talk about the one that has to do with the body without organs first, or maybe the treatise on nomadology, but I'm definitely gonna skip around following this one. I feel like I'm gonna sneeze, sorry. Excuse me. Okay, so if you want to get some better idea of what this book is all about, I guess if you're wanting more of a summary of some of the concepts that are going on here, or so at least what this whole book is. I do have a video, which is a intro to it, talking about the rhizome, talking about the introductory plateau. I have a video talking about the one or several wolves, the one which is about Freud, and I do have a lot of other videos which are kind of talking about certain concepts that are kind of going on here. But to kind of give you a brief summary, this book is Deleuze and Guattari kind of giving a process philosophy having to do with becoming, having to do with there's no stability, there's no true presence, there's no true metaphysical way that things are, there's no fixated truth, there's no actual philosophy that states existence to be in a certain way. Thus, this is nothing like Hegel's absolute or Leibniz's monads, or Hegel's being in time. It's nothing like that. It's a dispersion philosophy in that it's stating things to always be kind of going back and forth as for the meaning, as for the truth, as for the existence of the world, as to the philosophy of the way things actually are. So he talks about things like, they both talk about things like deterritorialization, which is the process of something becoming other than it is. That's basically what that is. And the way things work is, we talk about where things are going. We talk about becoming and not being. We state that things are becoming in a certain way, but there's still no fixated being or anything like that. But you have this whole, in each plateau or each chapter in this book, looks at things in a certain way and talks about things in a certain way. You can read them all in order, or you can jump around like I will be doing, following this. But this one, the Geology of Morals, is talking about the world, or the cosmos, talking about it in a geological way in terms of strata. And what is meant by strata is, if you take a geology class, you will study rock and how you see strata. If you look at a piece of rock, or like if you look at a outcrop, how sediment or rock is deposited, you will see there's a layer of deposit, and then another layer will be deposited upon that. So you see like layers on top of each other. So he's sort of talking about things in terms of strata and stratification and destratification, but it's kind of thinking about things in that way. Thinking about the world, the cosmos, life as still something that is a body without organs. And what is a body without organs? It's something that is, but doesn't have, I guess that this is, I've explained this better. It's something that is, but isn't really existing. It's something that exists in a way that it is not, it doesn't have clear contents. It's not clear about what it is. That's, I guess, a main way to put it. And the world, they both talk about it in a way how the world is a plane of consistency, where which is almost like a plane of disorder. And I've talked about how we have the planomenon and the ecumenon, where the ecumenon, which is discussed here, is something that does have content and it is ordered. However, a body without organs, or the plane of consistency, is something that is unformed, unorganized, non-stratified, or destratified body in all its flows, subatomic and submolecular particles, pure intensities, pivotal and prephysical free singularities. Okay, so this is a piece of writing which I could not possibly summarize. It kind of goes all over the place. Lots of things are discussed. He does talk about this guy named Professor Challenger, which is in a book by Arthur Conan Doyle. I forget the title of that book, though. I think I've read something of it a long time ago. But he's kind of using this Professor Challenger as almost like a jumping off point into talking about all this stuff. But I've highlighted a few things, and we'll go from there. But a lot of this I can't really read and talk about here because it's just really is this particular one. Like the other two, like the rhizome and the one or several wolves, are ones that, I can highlight most of it and talk about it. This one is just really kind of all over the place. So, I apologize as this is going to be a good amount of things that I'm leaving out that they do talk about. However, I want to just sort of touch upon it because it's not possible for me to sort of talk about it in that way, and it's not really possible for me to, I guess, talk about what is all talked about in this whole thing, because it's really is all over the place, and it is a crazy piece of writing. I think it is meant to be read and not talked about. If you get what I'm saying, so, almost in a way that's probably bad that I'm even talking about it, but I think that it's better if you were to read it and sort of pick up on the few main points that I'm going to bring out. So we have the idea of deterritorialization and destratification. He's talking about the body without organs, the plane of consistency, in a way of talking about things in terms of strata, as how there is no constant strata. So I'm going to read a few things. Arthur Conan Doyle, or through Professor Challenger, explained the Earth the deterritorialized, the glacial, the giant molecule is a body without organs. This body without organs is permeated by uniform and unstable matters. Life flows in all directions by free intensities and nomadic singularities, matter transitory particles. So, this body without organs, this plane of consistency, is something where there are a lot of different assemblages and multiplicities contained within it. There are many different lines of flight contained within it, as in a line of flight is almost like a ray in geometry, as something that is going somewhere, but you don't know where or why or how. And he's sort of going to talk about this Earth, or this body without organs, as not being definitely stratified, not being definitely territorialized. Stratification. Strata are layers, belts. They consist of giving form to matters, of imprisoning intensities or locking singularities into systems of resonance and redundancy, of producing upon the body of Earth molecules large and small, and organizing them into molar aggregates. They operate by coding and territorialization upon the Earth. They proceed simultaneously by code and by territoriality. The strata are judgments of God. Stratification in general is the entire system of the judgment of God, but Earth, or the body without organs, constantly eludes that judgment, flees and becomes destratified, decoded, or deterritorialized. In fact, the body without organs is in itself the plane of consistency, which becomes compact or thickens at the level of the strata. God is a lobster or a double pincher, a double body. Not only do the strata come at least in pairs, but in a different way each stratum is double. And he talks about how each stratum exhibits a phenomenon constitutive of the double articulation, in that it articulates twice. And I'm not going to really try to explain that. However, I can sort of suggest a book for that. And I think, to me, to try to explain this would be to almost take away the usage of this certain book. It's I can't even remember the author's name now, but it's a overview of basically is a overview of this book in general, and he talks about what this double articulation is, and I'm going to decline to explain that for that very reason, and that the way he explains it is probably the best it's going to get, and I think, to me, to use that is not fair, really. But if I were to do like an intensive course, I'm doing some intensive courses right now. If I were to do a course that would include this book, I probably would talk about that book. But at this point, I'm not sure that I want to. And he used the term matter for the plane without organs. In other words, the unformed, unorganized, non-stratified, or destratified body and all its flows. He used the term content for formed matters, which would now have to be considered from 2 points of view: substance, insofar as these matters are chosen, and form, insofar as they are chosen in a certain order. This is Deleuze and Guattari about the double articulation. The first articulation concerns content. The second concerns expression. There is never correspondence or conformity between content and expression, only isomorphism, and with reciprocal presupposition. The distinction between content and expression is always real, in various ways, but it cannot be said that the terms pre-exist their double articulation. It is the double articulation that distributes them according to the line drawn in a stratum. It is what constitutes their real distinction. There exist intermediate states between content and expression. So, I guess declining to sort of explain the double articulation in the best way I think it has been from the book that I can't even recall the author of, but I have it on my Kindle. I'll write it in the description below. Content and expression is almost like a hylomorphism. Form and content, or expression and content, where, and it's almost like the abstract concrete distinction, where you have content, which is concrete, real, individual things, and expression having to do with things less concrete. And a metaphysician would try to argue there to be some of them would argue there to be a certain hylomorphism that explains the way things are, and that indefinitely is, while Deleuze and Guattari are trying to hint at what they call a intermediate state, how it isn't that anything existing in any certain way isn't always necessarily content or expression. And so it's kind of talking about how you have this, similarly, you have this sort of tug between stratification and destratification, as you do between deterritorialization and reterritorialization. But it's almost, the way I would explain this is talking about things in that geological way, but also including a lot more to it. If I can maybe include anything else, let's see. But as you might imagine, this is difficult for me to even explain, because a lot of what goes on in this one is a lot of stuff that honestly, some of it doesn't even seem to tie in sometimes. It's just a lot of going back and forth, and that's what their philosophy is. Back and forth sort of things. There's deterritorialization and reterritorialization, and just back and forth, almost like Derrida's marginalizing of philosophy and differences and deferral. And every thing going on, every plateau in this book is a different way of getting at their philosophy, if you want to call it that. And their philosophy ties into political philosophy and social theory. It ties in with ethics. It ties in with a lot of different things. And I kind of wish I had a better way of explaining what is even going on here. But I think what is important is to read the whole thing and sort of try to think about their philosophy thought of in terms of strata, and not actually strata either, because there's no like strata that is always there. There's stratification and destratification, but there's no real strata, as what we're talking about here is a body without organs, a plane of consistency. So I guess I have made a few other videos just talking about some certain concepts of theirs. And if you kind of want something about that, I think those videos would be good to go to. I think also John David Ebert has videos on YouTube. His videos are also very good when talking about Deleuze. He's privatized some of his videos, so I'm hoping that his some of his videos about this book are still public. But I'm gonna try to do a follow-up video talking about their plateau having to do with geology. But I will also post a link to a few books in the description below that are really good for thinking about Deleuze and sort of trying to get some perspective on what is even going on here. Either way, the next one I'll be doing is something I'm not sure of, but I definitely want to. Yeah, it's this one. How do you make yourself a body without organs? This is the next one I want to do. I'm going to reread this, and then we'll do that one. So, any questions? And again, this is one of the hardest things to explain. I can explain Derrida better than this. If you have any questions or anything you want to discuss, comment down below, and whenever you comment, I get an email. And if it's something that is like a good question, then I will usually respond to it. Thank you.